Today we're doing a top 10 tips for the woodshop video. I've broken this video up into 3 different categories: gluing and clamping, putting it together, and saving you the hassle of sanding in difficult areas, making it easy. When it comes to doing laminations and you're gluing large surface areas, for instance, if I wanted to glue a board on top of this, you want to make sure that you're spreading the glue out evenly throughout the surface. And one of the easiest ways to do that, and most inexpensive ways to do that, is with peeking scissors. They're usually used in decorative cloth and scrapbooking, and they cut a zigzag pattern and work really well on things like this. This is a Bondo putty knife, or the spreader that they use for moving Bondo and stuff across cars and things that you Bondo. These yellow ones right here are super inexpensive. We buy these by the 50 pack and they last forever. So I honestly can't remember the last time I bought them. But they cut right off and they give you a nice even little carve across there. So now you can use those to smooth the glue. All right, so that gives that glue a really nice even spread, and all I have to do now is drop my board on top and clamp these two together, which leads me to my next tip or trick or hack. I don't know, whatever the internet's calling it these days. To be fair and completely honest with you, I would normally use F-style screw clamps, not squeeze clamps for this, just because I want that little extra aggressive force when I'm doing surface laminations. But this is like a perfect opportunity to show you this hack. This is a Rockler spring clamp. Now some of you may think this is silly, but this is actually a pretty good idea when you're working with trying to hold things and get your clamp on instead of having to sit there and clamp a whole bunch. But the problem is they're slightly pricey. I think this one was like $23 or $24. You can actually accomplish the same thing with a clamp that I got on sale for like 10 bucks just by using a regular old office rubber band. 0.03 cents upgrade and you're in business. Whenever I'm using these clamps, I like to count the amount of money I've saved. So like there's $14, $28, $32, $46, $60, $74, $88, $102, $116, $130. Now I can go buy 13 more clamps. Next up, we have another rubber band clamping trick for you. One of the things that you see a lot in the woodworking world is people edging plywood or putting edge banding on, and not all edge banding is super thin. In this case, got about a 1/4 inch piece of sapelli here that I want to edge band to this plywood. So there's a couple of ways to do it, and one of my favorite ways is just using painter's tape. You just put your glue on, slap your piece down, take your little chunk of painter's tape and wrap it over, give it a nice tug. That is plenty of gluing pressure to do this. I've seen a lot of fancy clamping scenarios for this, and literally you don't need any of them. Tape and this will work. Now, there is another one that we use only because it's very inexpensive and fast. And I'm going to show you that right now. My other favorite way to edge band with solid wood is just to take one of these 99-cent spring clamps right here and a rubber band and wrap it around it 3 times, kind of at the tip, and then just pop that right on there. And that also works really well. The only reason I like this better than the painter's tape trick is that I can reuse these a whole lot, and it's faster than having to peel off a piece of painter's tape every time I need to put one of these on. And that is plenty sufficient clamping force for edge banding. I'm going to get glue squeeze out, I'm going to let that sit till it's dry, pull those off of there, and then I can reuse them for the next time. One of the things that drives me the craziest in the shop is assembling dust collections to fixtures, tools, and these little blast gates right here. Now you would think that they'd be engineered for 4-inch hose, but a lot of times they're very difficult to get on. A way to make this really easy is literally just some dish soap and some water. The dish soap acts like a lubricant and the water just helps you get it all over the place. Just put it on the pipe and on the inside of the dust hose, and this will make it so much easier, especially on those ones that are really, really tight and snug, to slide right into place. After doing the dish soap and water, you'll find that the ones that were very difficult and hard to get on will slide on much easier. And just like that, it's nice and tight. You can put your clamp on it and you're done. Next up, when it comes to putting together, probably the second most annoying thing on my list is assembling carts and tools that come unassembled. So like dust collection units and little carts for around your shop, we have to assemble those as woodworkers. And that can be a little bit finicky, especially when you got giant meat pots. So here's a tip that's gonna make it a lot easier for you to put these together, and it involves magnets. Not all scenarios are this bad, and probably the worst one is when you have a bolt going through something, then you have to add a washer, a lock washer, and a nut to it. So you gotta put the washer on, and then the lock washer, and especially if you need your other hand up here holding it to get the bolt on, it gets pretty precarious. In this case, we're just gonna use a magnet, and this one's a mag switch. I love the little mag switches for this especially. I can just put those two on, turn on the mag switch, and that holds them right in place while I get the nut started on the bottom. And then I can finish threading them together. Really simple, really handy trick to know. This next one might seem a little bit silly, but you'd be surprised at how often I've used this and how often it comes in handy. Got a pair of needle nose pliers, or really any kind of pliers, and you need to be able to hold something, maybe have a third hand for, in this case, soldering. Just take a rubber band, wrap it around the handle just a few times, depending on the size of the rubber band, obviously. You can use it to hold wiring like a third hand. That'll just hold it nicely while you're soldering it. Another nice use for this, if you need to hold a nut and get it in some precarious place, you can just put it in there. You don't have to concentrate on trying to squeeze it. You can focus on where it actually needs to go. Next up, we're on to sanding tips and tricks. Now, in woodworking, there's oftentimes you run into some scenarios where you have a little cutout with a rounded side or a hole that you'd like to do a little sanding in, especially if you made that hole with a jigsaw. So the trick to this is a dowel. And I know what you're thinking, not wrapping paper around a dowel and doing that whole job. This one is much easier, much more efficient, and really easy to set up. All I'm gonna do is cut a groove in the end of this, about 1.25 inches, 1.5 inches deep. And then I'm going to use a piece of sandpaper. This is 120 grit, and it's 3.5 inches by 4 inches. And along that 4-inch length, I'm just going to go ahead and fold that in half and then slide it right into the center of that dowel. So I've created a little flap sander. Now I can stick that on my drill and sand on some really tough little spots and narrow spots. And this is a very aggressive and fast way to get the sanding done. This is a great one to lock away in the old noggin, just in case you need to pull it out and impress your friends. Another one of my favorites are sanding files, and all we do is use paint sticks. So whenever we go get paint at the paint store, we grab a few extra paint sticks, and we keep Velcro around the shop because you never know when you're gonna need Velcro. What I like to do is just go ahead and put the Velcro right onto the painting stick. Now the Velcro we always get is right around 2 inches, and the painting sticks are just slightly over 1 inch. So we'll do 2 at a time. We just go ahead and take the back off the Velcro. A lot of this Velcro comes with sticky back. You can get some double-sided tape if it doesn't. Now that we've got these done, we're not just going to throw 5-inch felt backs on here. I mean, you can and make them shorter, but that's not what we're going to do. One of the things that we do is go to Klingsport's woodworking shop and we buy their bargain boxes. So they have basically rolls of felt back sandpaper that they cut off anywhere from 1 inch wide to 4.5 inches wide. You can make a bunch of these really inexpensively, and they're very nice for getting into tight areas, doing roundovers, and just getting in those little difficult spots that you typically are folding over the sandpaper and trying to do it by hand. This works so much better. Last tip and trick of the day, it's not really a trick, it's more of a tip. And this is one of those things that you're gonna run into a lot in woodworking, is sanding curved profiles. Now they make some tools for this, like spindle sanders. And they're nice to have, especially if you have the room for them. But if you don't, and want to get into some tight areas that the spindle sander is not going to be able to help you out with, like on the sides and doing contours, aside from doing just a flat contour on a single plane, this is one of my favorite drill-powered sanding tools in the shop. This is a handheld drill-powered spindle sander. So you just attach your drill to it, and you can get those nice curved areas, and you can also work where you're doing curved profiles that have a second plane to them or a second curve to them. You can get into those nice tight areas. A lot like you see on something like a Maloof chair. You guys want to see it work? It works really good. Thanks for watching, everybody. I hope you found some of these tips today helpful and maybe even save you a little bit of time and money. All appropriate links will be down in the description box as always. And if you enjoyed today's video, consider subscribing and hitting that bell notification so you see our videos when they pop up. Thanks again for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.